Bears country. Where is it? It's in your man cave. Your home. Your car. Your local bar. Your city. State. It's across the world. It's in your heart. And it's here. The Bears Country Podcast.
Welcome to Country Podcast. This is Last Call at Hallas Hall as we wrap up our conversation from the Barroom Network previously. Thank you all for joining us. I'm here with, my name is, by the way, Dan Sciorty, Mr. Sciorty. We're here with Dan Aguire and Cliff Victoria. We're going to continue our talk from Barroom Network, and we're going to pull up your questions from chat, kind of have a Q&A with you. We're going to see how this goes. Thanks for joining us everywhere.
It's kind of like we were doing a game on ESPN, and they were like, for the rest of it, you go to ESPN2.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yep. Come to Bears Country Podcast. We'll wrap up this conversation.
We're like the Manning brothers. Instead of
you
switch from the main show to the Manning brothers, and you get the good stuff.
Absolutely, man. Like, it's great talking to both of you guys. Cliff, you were pretty much done with your Cliff Notes from the previous section, right?
Pretty much. I had a couple of end comments, but there was nothing really much left to talk about during the game, except for the interception that Justin Fields threw. And he was just trying to force something at the end of the game. So I don't really blame him for that. You know, I mean, they all know he's throwing the ball, and he's throwing it into coverage. So
I have a comment on that.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's assume everybody knows you're going to be passing, right? I get it. But more than likely, there's not enough time. You don't have any timeouts. Why wouldn't you just be like, look, 11, just go, just run. Just run as fast as you fucking can, and we're going to throw it deep. Maybe we get a pass interference. Maybe we get a 5-yard illegal contact. Just throw it as far as you can. If I'm getting picked off in that situation, why not get picked off throwing it deep versus the 6-yard fucking curl route? I don't understand. You're down 27-10. You know, it's minimal. Like, it's like a 1% chance you can win the game at that point, because you're not going to. You're down 17. But why not just throw it deep? Fuck it. Let's just pad our stats then.
And how many balls have been thrown to Darnell Mooney so far this season?
Not very many. He had one catch for like -4 yards yesterday.
Yeah,
-4 yards. How many did he have the game before that?
I don't think he had but one catch against San Francisco.
I believe. I think it's a total of 2, and Komet has 2 passes, 0 receptions, 0 everything.
One big ass fucking drop.
What is going on with that shit? These are the 2 guys that all of us probably expected to get the most targets.
I've been down on that. Like, if you listen to the other show, you know, with Aldo, I've been saying that this guy's a bust, and like, I don't want him to be, but I feel like he's not very good. But then at the beginning of this season, when he had a really good preseason game at the end, I was like, oh, maybe it was Matt Nagy holding him back too, just like Trubisky and Fields. But he did some good blocking against San Francisco because he helped out shipping and such when Fields was getting killed early. I don't know though. He never does what you want him to do. Like, he looks like the guy that should be catching 8 to 10 passes.
I love how I can hear you pounding on the table when you say that. He never does what you want him to do.
Yeah, it's like he never fucking shows up, man. And he drops so many passes. He's always falling down. It's like he has the wrong cleats on. He fumbles a lot too.
We know he's not, the Travis Kelce on this team. He's not that type of tight end, but we should be seeing more out of him by now. I mean,
I
they
want him
should
to
have
be Greg Olson.
Me too.
Just solid, man. Just be solid.
But by the way, speaking of Greg Olson, Dan, I'm sure you know this, and Cliff. If they didn't trade Greg Olson and he went on to have those stats that he had for the Panthers, he would be the fucking Bears' all-time leading wide receiver.
And Jay liked him. He was like Jay's best friend on the team before B Marsh got there. So it's not like Cutler had any opposition to throwing him the ball. So he would have kept throwing him the ball. He loved the guy.
I was watching Greg Olson on a broadcast yesterday, and I was thinking all those same things. There's one more thing we can blame Mike Martz for.
Our leading wide receiver of all time is Johnny Morris with 5,059 fucking receiving yards in 9 seasons. And we had Greg Olson on our team and traded him basically for an offensive coordinator that amounted to jack shit in Mike Martz. And by the way, fuck you, Mike Martz.
We got a 3rd-round pick that was traded. It was sort of used properly, at least because we traded the 3rd-round pick we got from Carolina and the 3rd-round pick we already had to Miami to get Brandon Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in some regards, it ended up helping us getting that. But yeah, you'd like to have seen Olson play his whole career here. And now this season, he gets to call a Super Bowl, but then immediately goes back to the number 2 team next season when Brady takes his job.
I was
so
hoping. Sorry, go ahead, Shorty.
You go ahead.
I was hoping that last week Mooney was going to catch a touchdown. I mean, they had him designed. I was watching the All-22, and they had a play designed where Fields was going to roll out to the left and then throw the ball to Mooney, who was wide open. It would have been a touchdown, but they happened to be the 49ers happened to be blitzing from that side right on the play, and it ended up being the perfect defense, and Fields took off running off the other way. So he was unable to make that touchdown pass to Mooney. So I'm wondering if it's the scheming, the play calling, or if it's Mooney and Kmet. What do you guys think about which needs to be fixed?
Kmet needs to be fixed first, I think. I don't think there's any problem with Mooney. It's just a matter of, I don't think they really had him in their game plan the last couple of games, if I had to guess. But Kmet needs to be showing up more than he is, for sure. After these first 2 games, I would have expected him to have a lot more receptions and yards and touchdowns after these first 2 games, just based on the security blanket that he should be becoming for Justin Fields.
Yeah. I agree. And they're supposed to have this great offseason together to build chemistry. I'm worried. I've been saying it since his first year. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if this kid's got it. I want him to, because he grew up a Bears fan. And imagine that if you had grown up a Bears fan and then you're playing for the Bears, like, why wouldn't you want this guy to be successful? I do want him to be successful, but I don't think he's got it. I just don't. But it wouldn't surprise me. He plays 4 years here. It looks like a bust and goes like to Miami or somewhere and makes the Pro Bowl immediately.
No shit.
I think the Bears have been using him for chipping and blocking a lot too, because I mean their O-line, they're still trying to work out what they're doing with that.
That's true.
Yeah, I know they used him a lot in blocking against San Francisco. I didn't pay attention to Kmet so much last night. I don't know what he was doing. I know he wasn't catching any balls. Maybe when Velus Jones comes back, I mean, how bad could his hamstring be? Fuck, dude, come on. Maybe they can use him and have some explosive plays with him.
That's all I could think last night when the Packers were putting in that rookie wide receiver of theirs. I can't remember his name. But he
got lit up on that end around. Ooh, is that the guy you're talking about? The one that took the really, really hard hit?
Not Watson, the other guy. Oh God, he's a fast little guy. They were
Romeo something.
Romeo something. Yes, thank you. That kid's electric, man. He's got speed. He's got electric skills. All I was thinking was, where the fuck is that Velus Jones on our team right now? Why isn't he in the game? I know why he's not in the game, but for a guy that claimed to, he kind of tooted his own horn about his lack of injuries throughout college, and that's one of the things he was kind of putting into the NFL is that he's older. Everyone was talking shit about his age, and he was using the age and his lack of injuries as a reason why he's going to excel in the NFL. And here we are 2 games later. We haven't even seen him. He would have been such a huge factor for this game last night and helping this team find their way, in my opinion.
But maybe it's the Bears just being cautious with him. You're a 3rd round draft pick, and a hamstring is one of those things that can just reoccur over the course of the season. So maybe they're just trying to protect him. Like, who's to say that he wasn't pounding the drum to play? I can play, I can go. And they were like, just sit out, get well.
If you mess with the hamstring, it can turn into another month or 2 rather than letting it go the extra week or 2 to be completely healed.
Cliff, if you go back and watch any old Bears games from the early 90s, Neil Anderson, especially in the playoff games, they were talking to Neil about how he did not work out in the offseason, and he bragged about it. And every fucking year he had a hamstring injury. He was the antithesis of Walter Payton. Like, he's like, I don't run up a hill. I don't do shit in the offseason. And he always had a hamstring injury come playoff time.
Yep.
And I love Anderson, but he like Hammy, every year, he and Mustard both were always hurt.
They put the hill there for people to run up and down. They put a Walter Payton Hill at Hallis Hall. Fucking hit that hill, guys.
I was at the hill with Aldo, like the real hill last year, which was cool.
I had one of those in high school that they made us run. I remember pissing off the coach one time. He was like, hit the hill. I was like, oh, shit. You had to go up and down the hill like 10 times or whatever. And it was very similar to that hill. And it really does build your endurance, and it builds your strength and your soft tissue strength, and it makes you stronger for the games. So Eberflus should be having him hit that Walter Payton Hill every fucking practice just to get everyone's strength built up in all the areas that they need for a game. Seriously.
Well, like you're saying, Shorty, we could have used Vellis not just on his speed as a receiver, but punt returns or kickoff returns would have been nice to see too.
Did you know Ebner was doing the kickoff returns early, but the kid they picked up from Minnesota had one later in the game?
Yeah, Marset. Yeah, at the end of the game he did.
Yeah, he didn't really go anywhere, but yeah,
it was like a 17-yard return.
Yeah,
but Ebner was averaging like 24 and a half or something.
Yeah, Bears are just still looking for the guy.
Right.
Hopefully, and we don't want to rush Jones back on the field before that, hamstring injury, because we just talked about it. If you put him on the field too quick, now you're injured for a lot longer and you're out for way too much time. So I get that they're being cautious with him. It's just going to be fun to see when they finally bring him into the game, what's going to happen with that speed. It's something we haven't seen yet.
I like Raging Oracle here saying Roquan needs to run up that hill. He looks like he's running in mud. I've never seen him so slow. And for a guy that's betting on himself and wants a big-time contract, so far 2 games in, it's not looking like you're going to get paid $22 million a year, Mr. Smith.
And this is why I was fine with polls not paying him big money. They don't know what he has in him. He's never played the will position before. He was a middle linebacker in a 3-4 defense, and now he wants $25 million a year. That's kind of scary territory when you're talking about paying that much money to someone that you don't know is proven in that position. So I'm kudos for Poles for not pulling the trigger and, being hasty.
Nobody agreed with me at that time. Not to step on you there, but seemed like everyone was like, and look, I like him too. We drafted him, but it felt like during the summer, everyone was like, oh, fuck you, Dan, for saying that Roquan's not a top 3 linebacker. I was talking to a kid that I work with who's a Carolina fan the other day, and he's like, I watched a mic'd up segment with Roquan. What are your thoughts on Roquan as a Bears fan? And I was like, oh, okay. He hadn't really talked to me before. He's young. He's born in 99. But I told him that even in the game where Roquan has 10 tackles, they all seem insignificant. He doesn't have a lot of quote unquote splash plays or big plays where you're like, oh, look at that interception or that sack or nothing timely. It just feels like he gets a lot of tackles when someone's already run 8 yards and then he makes the tackle. So
Right. Could be a lot of mop-up tackles, too.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he's okay. He's a good player, but I don't think he's top 3. I don't even know if he's top 10.
For whatever reason, he did not look good yesterday. Whatever he's doing wrong, whether it's mental or whether it's physical, he's got to get that fixed, both for himself and for the team.
I hope he's not going through the motions the way Lance Briggs did the last couple of years when Tressman was coach, where it just felt like he sort of checked out, but was like, well, I got to fulfill my contractual obligations. So I'll do anything I can to get cut. Let me open this restaurant and maybe they'll, I just hope he's not doing Lance, who played the same position, ironically.
Yeah, I'm going to drive my Lamborghini into a medium and try to get out of this contract or off the Bears so I can go open up my barbecue joint in California.
Yeah, he left the scene, but of the accident on that Lamborghini thing.
I should probably take this moment to say to everyone in chat, please get your questions ready for us. Put them out there. We're going to flag them for the end of the show, and then we're going to have a section where we're going to bring up your questions and kind of chat back and forth with you and answer some of your questions and talk kind of with you in real time. And by the way, anyone who wants to join the show, email us at bearscountrypodcast@gmail.com, and we will be happy to line you up to come on the show with us and talk with us in real time, in real person. In fact, we already have Vaughn from chat right now that's going to be joining us soon. We're trying to get that worked out. And we have a couple more people from chat as well. So if you want to be on the show, bearscountrypodcast@gmail.com. We're happy to have you come on and talk Bears with us. Thank you. Public service announcement.
Yeah, there you go. Now, did you guys see Eberflus press conference?
Yes. I only heard sound bites. I didn't watch I went to bed. I was so upset. I just went to fucking sleep, and I'm generally nocturnal, but I was so upset over the game. I just went to bed.
He sounded a little bit naggy-ish, making a few excuses, but he was also willing to confront some of the issues that we all saw while we were watching the game. So there's still hope for him. Let's see. It seems that he doesn't want to single out any player. A reporter asked a question about Roquan. Oh, yeah, he played okay. He doesn't want to single anybody out on air. So hopefully behind the scenes, he's doing a bit more responsibility.
Lovey kind of took up for his guys, and I'm sure, cut them a new asshole, albeit without cussing in the locker room. But he sort of didn't want to throw anybody under the bus publicly.
Yeah, this I don't know. It's like he's a new head coach coming to one of the most media-ravaged cities in the entire country that just likes to pound the questions no matter what the answer is, trying to get the answer that they want. And he's handled it very well so far in his very short rookie head coach term. But, the shit's going to start to hit the fan soon. And it already did with this last game. Everyone wanted this Packers win. All of the Bears fans, all of us. Just it's hard for us to even talk about this right now with it being a loss. Yet he's navigating his way through learning how to handle the Chicago media. And I mean, it's not something that's easy to do. So I'm not going to go throwing any daggers anytime soon. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that for a little bit because he hasn't really hit the fan yet. And yeah, he did last night, but it could be much worse in the future. They
lose to the Texans.
Well, the guy that nobody's actually talking about is Williams, defensive coordinator. Bears, they lost this game because they did not stop the run or slow the run. So I think Williams should have a little bit of accountability for that.
Williams
should get some loafs.
He looks like he'd fuck us up, though.
Yeah, he does.
He looks like a boxer standing there, like he's ready to hit somebody. He looks like a defensive coordinator.
Yet he talks so calmly and evenly and just well-spoken. And
well, Mike Tyson didn't exactly sound intimidating.
You're like, that's the neighbor next door. I would have never guessed would have, beat up his wife or whatever. He's so calm. That's the guy that'll fuck you up. in a fight, right?
Exactly.
He's got to teach his players to fuck up the other team.
Yeah, the lack of tackling and wrapping up. I mean, it was just, they always say in that cover too that you got to stay in your gaps, and God, they were just getting pushed around. I mean, it like I said, it was startling to me just how badly they were run over. And I know someone said in the other chat, like, well, the Bears had a higher run per average or average yards per carry. True, but that's still, I mean, we've seen the Bears in the past run over people, but it's sort of not on us though.
Right.
Like to that extent, like we're just like a floppy, impotent cock, like unable to do anything about it.
I know, man. There was no Viagra in sight, was there?
No Blue Chew. Give us a sponsor, Blue Chew. We'll sell your shit. On every other podcast.
And you're not quite old enough yet, Dan, but eventually you're going to need those. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, so far so good. I've been taking vitamins that help with blood flow with like your lower extremity since my late 20s. Like I've been trying to mitigate, that occurrence since like I was like 26, 27.
Mitigate that. Good thing you're getting a heads up on it, buddy.
No pun intended.
No, pun intended.
You got people like Ron Jeremy that keep going, or the guy that played Uncle Fester. He was always at the get-togethers for the porn club get-togethers, and he'd be running around there. So
the guy that played Fester in the original show,
and on what was the name of the show with Herman? The Munsters.
Yeah,
the Munsters.
Yes.
The old show, the real one.
The old guy, yes.
That guy was always around porn studios, you said?
Yes, back in the days of porn magazines, I recall seeing his picture.
Who knew?
No shit.
Fester was into like bondage.
He'd go to that club in Indiana, that one that's famous.
What was his name? Fred something. He's the judge from the
My
movie
Cousin
with
Vinny. No, that
My
was
Cousin-
Herman Munster. That was Fred Gwynn. He was
Fred
also
Gwynn.
in the original Pet Sematary in 1989.
Oh,
and the remake, it was John Lithgow, who's the only person that I just didn't like in the 2019 version. I thought the 19 version was really good, actually. And I usually don't like horror movie remakes.
Me either. Never seen that one though.
Oh, the 19 one was good. I'll give you one small spoiler that might make you want to watch it. In the original one, it was the little boy Gage is the one that gets brought back.
Yeah.
And I mean, how menacing could the toddler be? I get it. It's creepy because he's a bit, but in the second one, the remake, they make it the little girl who's like 13 is the one that's brought back. They're setting it up. You think Gage is about to get hit by the truck and the fucking girl's trying to save him. She takes it. So now you got a teenager who gets buried and comes back, and she's much more intimidating and carries the picture the rest of the way through, in my opinion.
That would be much more believable for sure.
Yeah, she was fucking she was, like I said, she was a boss, man.
I read the book. It was a good book. And I saw the movie and I was like, this is not playing out how I saw it in the book in my head. It was kind of close, but the end, some of it didn't play out, but that would work with a 13-year-old girl for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was a good remake. It's too bad we can't remake last night's game. Do something to alter it,
No, I don't watch that.
I would sit around and think about playoff losses and like, if this could have happened, I'm telling you that 1988 NFC Championship game, I have replayed in my head like 50 fucking times over the years. Like, this could have changed everything. This could have rewrote the dynasty. This could have changed Jim McMahon's reputation and Ditka's. And I do that shit all the time because I have no life, apparently.
Well, like Sciorty and I were talking about in the episode on the Bears-Packers rivalry, Vince Lombardi could have been coach of the Bears. Who knows what could have happened?
Or even George Allen. If they just hired George, look what he did for Washington. I mean, took them to the Super Bowl, but then I guess he'd have traded everybody away and brought in a bunch of older guys in their 30s. But still, Like George Allen was an awesome coach, and he was here. He was the defensive coordinator. Should have been the next guy in line, but Halas didn't want to give him the job. So,
There's another guy. What's the Buffalo head coach that took him to 4 Super Bowls?
Mark Levy.
Yeah, I think he had a connection to Chicago too. That he could have been their head coach. Yeah,
Love Marv Levy. Yeah, he deserved to win at least 2 of those Super Bowls. The Nora one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can you imagine if they won all 4 of those? Nobody be talking about the Cowboys.
Oh, it's like they should have won the Giants game, no doubt about it. And then the next year, Kelly gets hurt. Plus, their defensive coordinator was like mocking the Redskins in the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, like making hog noises, and it just seemed to fire them up. And everyone, I think, thought that they were a better team than Washington. And it's just like they had no reason to lose that game. And then they get steamrolled in Pasadena, 52-17. But that last one, the last one in Atlanta, they led 13-6 in the third quarter and was about to score again and go up 20-6. Thurman Thomas fumbles. James Washington takes it back for a fucking touchdown, makes it 13-13. The final score of that game was 30-13. They led 13-6, about to go up 20-6. Think of that momentum switch. Football, you think of the NBA as being where momentum is so like important, but in football, a swing like that just sucks the life out of the other team. It's almost cruel how that can happen.
That's why if we could have just gotten that touchdown last night that they should have called on Fields' fucked up shotgun play run.
That was a touchdown.
It was a touchdown. That would have swung the game entirely. We would have scored. It would have been 24-17. We can stop them. They would have given us momentum. The defense would have been playing with more enthusiasm. They probably could have stopped them. And then we could have gotten the ball back and then scored again, tied it up. Who knows what can happen? But for whatever reason, the paid-off fucking refs in Green Bay prevented that from happening, so that couldn't happen. It's like they never want to even make it a game. You know,
and then when you hear was it Gene Steritt? Who's their analyst, their referee that they talked to on the broadcast? He was like, yeah, it looks like it's a touchdown. I think it's a touchdown, but I don't know if there's enough evidence to overturn it. It's like, but it's a touchdown.
Right.
So why isn't it a touchdown if people know it's if we know it's a touchdown, then why can't it just be a fucking touchdown?
That was just a few plays after Justin Fields running, holding the ball out, getting the first down, and them not calling that a first down. And the Bears had to challenge it.
You had to waste a challenge on that shit. Even though it was upheld and we got the call, but why did we even have to challenge it,
Because for whatever reason, those fucking Green Bay refs have to make it difficult.
It's so true, man. Damn, man. It's like every year. And I know we've been accused of whining in the other show about these calls, but if you've been watching these games for 30 plus years, like all of us have, or even longer in Cliff's case, no offense, Cliff, just saying, if you've been dealing with this shit your whole fucking life, the game goes the same way for at least the last 30 years.
I mean, guys, after the 2010 championship, well, I should say before that game, I laid in bed, not kidding, for like 4 hours meditating and I was thinking about every single different scenario that could happen in that championship game. And I'm thinking about all the ways the Bears can win and all the ways the Bears can lose. And then we ended up driving like an hour away to like Golden, Colorado we found a Bears bar there and we watched the game there. And they come out the second half. Cutler doesn't come out. They never even announced that he had an injury. He comes out not playing. I looked at Kitty. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, they never even said anything about an injury to Cutler. Why is he not coming back in the game? And they're like, oh, he has a knee injury. And we sat there and watched a couple more minutes of it. And I was like, I can't even stomach this loss to the Packers. We have to leave. She's like, no, we have a chance. No, I'm like, no, we don't have a fucking chance. This is not going to happen. And we left. And
I hope you got to miss the BJ Raji pick six then. That's when The 400-pound man who got the interception and took it in for a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's actually right after I left. After that, I left. Yes, thank you for reminding me.
Caleb Haney threw that pick six. It's one of the worst moments of my life.
And I was like, "We're leaving." And from that moment on, it like a fuse short-circuited in my head, and I was just dead inside after that loss. I was dead inside. It took me a long time to really start to care again about football in general, because I mean we had gone through it for so long with the Favre era, and then we get into the Rodgers era, and I'm thinking, okay, now we got this. Like I can't wait for fucking Favre to retire so we can finally be in a game here and start to win some of these games against Green Bay. And then Aaron Rodgers comes in. We let him in the fucking wild card game by losing the last game to them. We get all the way to the championship game, and he beats us, and because we didn't have our quarterback in the game. I went dead inside.
I thought that it was going to go good for us or go well for us when Green Bay beat the Falcons, because Atlanta had the number 1 seed, and we would have had to have gone to the Georgia Dome for the NFC Championship. I thought, oh, fuck, Green Bay's beaten Atlanta. So now we get to host the game if we beat Seattle tomorrow. And obviously the Bears beat Seattle, and everyone denigrated that win. They're like, oh, they beat a 7-9 team. But that 7-9 team just beat the reigning defending Super Bowl champion New Orleans Saints in the wild card game when Marshawn Lynch ran over the whole fucking team. So it's not like that they were chumps coming in there. But the Bears win that game, and, you got the title game, and then they got the Sports Illustrated with Jay on the front. It says, bring on the Packers. I'm like, yes, this is our moment. All those losses, it's like this is going to make up for all of that shit. It's like if you get this one win over them in the championship game, it's going to make going through all that other stuff, it meant something. Like it was like you're paying your dues or something. It's like you almost feel like you deserve it. And then I know the way it happens, the way you lose like that with Jay having to, like I've said before, Kreutz said that Olin Kreutz, the center, said Jay came back in the huddle and his leg was throbbing and shaking, and he couldn't involuntarily. He couldn't even stop his leg from shaking. And he said that had the Packers lost that game, Jay would not have been able to play in the Super Bowl. That's how he had a grade 2 tear of a ligament in his knee. So he was out for the year. At least, for a month or so, rehabbing it. So he wouldn't even have been, it'd have been Todd Collins, I guess, in the Super Bowl if we slop up and win.
Oh, God, that would be terrible.
Yeah, Todd Collins had his moments earlier in his career. That's why on paper I thought, well, maybe he'll be okay in relief, because I think it was when he was in Washington or Kansas City. Somewhere he did okay. He had some decent games. But he was so bad, they put Caleb Haney in. It was like, who's the other guy? Okay. And by the way, Mike Martz put that guy over constantly, Caleb Haney. So there you go. The guy that's telling us that Justin Fields isn't any good, he acted like Caleb fucking Haney was Joe Montana.
I'm not going to cry about, the past could-haves, would-haves, should-haves, because there's no way to change them.
Come on, Cliff.
All we can do is look towards the future. We've got a team that's better than we thought it was going to be this year. We've got $100 million plus in money to spend when we get to the off season. We've got our first round pick for the first time in years. So I'd rather look ahead towards the hopeful, rather than go back over the things that tore us all apart while they were happening.
I wish I had your optimism. I kind of feel like I just want to sit here and suck my own dick a little bit more about the past. These losses, man, they hurt. That's why we all wanted it so badly last night. But I agree. Your point again is right in theory, and I'll get there. It's just too soon. It's too soon right now.
You're like the guy who's beating himself over the head with a hammer because it'll feel so good when it stops.
Yeah, that's true. It's like you can control certain things, and this is one of the things I can control, but yet I choose to also feel miserable. I don't know. Like I said, by the time the Texans game, like I said, unfortunately, I won't be able to watch that one live because we'll be driving back from Cleveland, but which is going to be good in its own self. But point being, like, whenever I am watching the game later that night, this game will be in the back seat, so to speak. But for right now, on Monday night at 10:56 or 9:56 Eastern time, yeah, it still fucking hurts.
It sucks. There's nothing worse than a Bears loss Monday, and then on top of that, actually there is. It's a Bears-Packers loss Monday. It's
another one in prime time too.
I started doing this podcast, and it's like I hadn't even thought about the Bears-Packers losses that are going to be inevitable and how to deal with those doing a podcast. And thank you guys for both coming on to do this with me, just to help me out with that, because it's hard not to just jump off the cliff. Right, Cliff? No pun intended.
Never heard that one before.
Jump off the bridge, should I say, over losses like this, because they're just so heartbreaking. It's like, when is this going to end? When are we going to finally take the fucking NFC North from Green Bay?
My ex-wife would always yell at me. I basically was with her my entire 30s. I met her when I was 30, and we divorced right before I was 39. So I had a decade with this woman. And she would always say to me, and again, I'm not denigrating her in any way. Like, I wish her well and happiness and all that stuff. But she would get she never understood what we're talking about right now. She never could understand why I cared or why something would bother me. And she would say, you know what? If your fucking team sucks so much, why don't you just change teams? And that's the reason the reason we care so much, the reason this hurts is because you're loyal. It's part of your DNA. You're passionate, you're loyal. Like, if you're in a relationship and you're having a rocky time, whether for whatever reason, you just don't break up immediately, especially if you're married. You have good times and bad times. So you just got to be loyal. You can't just, oh, well, I'm pissed. She said something to me. Let me go get blown by somebody else. I mean, you gotta be loyal. And that's the way you are with your team. You can't just fucking change teams. She never could understand that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I thought so many times, like, I live so close to Green Bay. Maybe I could just become a Green Bay Packers fan. Like, fuck no. It's impossible. You can't change your loyalty when it's ingrained in you like that.
What you can do is move to a different state. I moved to Florida, for instance. Now I have an adopted second team with Tampa Bay. So the Bears, of course, are my first team. But if they go through their usual season and fail, then at least I have a fallback.
No, Cliff. No.
All right. That's enough of Cliff.
Cliff is fired. I'm kidding, Cliff. I'm kidding. But damn, no.
Hey, it makes me happy to cheer for a winner if the Bears haven't gotten to the playoffs.
Oh, no.
All right, that's enough of Cliff again.
I care, man. I care more than I guess I should. Like I told you during the week, Dan, the one of the lowest moments of my life was that Randall Cobb touchdown in 13 when we were trying. It's like the winner makes the playoffs, the loser goes home. The Bears have a 28-20 lead, and it comes down to eventually it's 28-27. It comes down to fourth down and 13, and Peppers is in Rodgers' face. Just wrap him, just hit him. And then he throws the ball, and Randall Cobb is there and catches it. I threw my remote controller at that exact minute. So the worst part was obviously having her hearts ripped out. And then my girlfriend, about to be my wife, looks at me and says, "You're an idiot. Breaking shit. What the fuck? It's just a game." So it was just once again, God damn, man. It's it sounds so trivial, but it's one of the lowest moments ever. The Randall Cobb play, and then she looks at me with this disdain. And how can I even explain it? I just put my fucking head down. I'm like, I guess she's right. I mean, fuck.
That game was awful. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had been injured for it was us that injured him, right?
Yeah, Jay McClellan
broke his collarbone, and he comes back that final fucking game of the season. We got him 4th and 4, 27-28 with 40 seconds left. And he throws. The pocket collapses. He rolls to his left. Throws to a wide open fucking Cobb. And here we are. Sorry, Cliff, talking about old shit again. It's just it's
that
like
hurt
rinse
more
and
than
repeat.
I'm telling you, that one hurt me more than the championship game because I just knew that that would reinvent Jay's entire legacy to win that division that night, to beat Rodgers at Soldier Field. And it meant so much to me. Like I wanted to be right about the Cutler trade. So right. I wanted to believe in this guy. And he still has all of our statistics, with the exception of Eric Kramer's single season touchdown record. He's got every other fucking stat though. And he just was never fully appreciated or embraced as a Bear. And I wanted him to be so badly. That game was just a terrible outcome.
And that offense was good enough to win in the playoffs. Yeah.
I mean, they had Martalis and Alshon and Brandon Marshall. I mean, Matt Forte.
We had 2,000-yard receivers that season.
Yeah, the defense was just historically bad under Mel Tucker, who's having immense success, or at least he has in college leading up to his – where was he at? Alabama as a coordinator before he took his own job. So, yeah, I mean, it's just so this guy is so good in college. He's horrible when he's with the Bears, though.
I know, but that was that year that the offense was good enough to compete with a shitty defense, and we could have overcome by scoring.
Yeah.
To get into the playoffs just would have been one of those anything can happen.
And if Robbie makes the kick against Minnesota, the one everyone criticized Tressman on and said, why are you kicking on second down? Because he believed Robbie was going to fucking nail it. And it was like 47 yards. Robbie's probably made 99 out of 100 from 47 yards at that point in his career or something like that. And he sends him out in a dome, no less, perfect weather. And he fucking misses the kick.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, God, if he makes that kick, the Green Bay game, we're already in the playoffs. We've already won the division. And then do you remember the Sunday night game against Philly? We go there and lose like 51-3 or something with Foles.
Yeah.
That was the week before the Green Bay game. So you're just like, oh, man, now we've got to beat Green Bay to make it. And it's just like, but we're going to do it. Fuck it, man. We lost that game in 2010, the championship game. This is why. We had to lose to win again. And
that was the season that when Pace came in after that, got rid of Gold. If I'm correct.
Well, that was the start of Gold's bad time. He missed that kick against Minnesota, as I stated. And then he missed a game winner against San Francisco. And he missed a game tying field goal against Washington. Both of those were in 15 when Fox was there. And then in the preseason of 16, he's missing extra points and he's running his mouth. He's comparing himself to Michael Jordan. He's missing game-winning kicks and tying kicks, and he's got a big fucking contract. I don't blame Ryan Pace at the time for cutting him. I mean, he was really like a megalomaniac at that point, and he was not living up to his contract. But of course, he took that personally, rededicated himself, and suddenly was a stud again. But he'd gotten kind of lazy and conceited, like just thought, I'll just go out and make it no matter what, because I'm so good. At least that's my opinion.
Well, do the Bears win that playoff game if they had Robbie Gold on the team instead of Double Doinker?
Oh
God. Yeah.
Probably.
So.
Probably. Hey. What's even more terrible about it's Robbie was at that game. He's rooting for Philly. He always, he's like, I still live in Chicago and I should still be here. So it's like, he was sitting there rooting for the Bears to lose.
Oh, just for his own ego, for sure.
I'm just glad he made that kick in Green Bay last year as a member of the Niners, though.
Me too. It was so awesome hearing Jimmy Garoppolo saying, fuck Green Bay.
Yeah, that was tremendous.
Hey, everyone in chat. Get your questions ready. Start sending us your questions because we're going to have a segment coming up where we do a Q&A with you guys. We have 3 questions starred so far. So keep the questions coming, and we'll pull those up shortly, and we'll do interaction with you guys in chat.
Yes, we need something to talk about besides the old bad Bears memories.
Come on, Cliff. This is like a wake. This is over. This is catharsis.
Yeah.
You guys are talking out your issues with Green Bay, and you're expanding it to the entire history of the Bears.
It's
that's how you work it
it's
out.
drown yourself in your own sorrows sometimes, Cliff, right?
Yes, yes. Well, no, I just forget about them and move on.
You're like you're like the ultimate defensive back, right, Cliff?
Sure.
Short memory.
Well, I liked the Eberflus 24-hour idea when he was talking.
We're still
about
within that 24 hours. Then.
Yes, I actually thought that was a good thing. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I played a lot of sports. I played tennis, which is a tough sport. I have a bunch of bowling trophies, and I mean, it's the similar thing for all the sports. I mean, you're going to have losses, so you can't dwell on them. Otherwise, you end up in the cellar. You lose every week because you get used to losing every week. So if you forget about it,
if you're a tennis guy, let's say if you're Andre Agassi and you're losing all your fucking finals to Pete Sampras, then those are the ones you're going to dwell on because you're like, this one fucking guy I can't beat. Of course, he ended up beating Pete some, but I'm just saying that even in tennis, there's one guy that Bjorn Borg's got John McEnroe. There's like one guy that just you can't get over it. This is the same thing, Cliff.
Well, if you guys want to continue to talk your way through, I can sit here and listen, and you guys can pour your feelings out.
You can be the therapist.
Yeah.
Maybe I should lay down.
Sure.
Yeah. Cliff, why can't we beat the fucking Packers?
Because we didn't stop the damn run.
You don't take any of these personally, Cliff? None of them?
I don't like losing. I am very competitive. I detest losing. So it bothers me a lot that the Bears lost this game. And while the game was going on, I mean, if the right person was in front of me right there, I'm not a violent person, but I would have been hitting them in the face because it was annoying me that much. But now I'm a day past it, and life goes on. So I mean, I love the Bears. I hope the Bears win, but it doesn't ruin my life if they lose to the Packers.
None of the old games stick out to you at all?
Pardon?
None of the old games stick out to you that have a special place of hatred or hurt in your heart?
Yes. As a matter of fact, you guys want to talk about it? Let's talk about that Miami game in '85 on Monday Night Football.
Well, do you think if McMahon starts that the Bears win?
I think that Miami just had our number. I don't think that we were going to win that game anyway. Marino just came out and I don't think he had that great a game, but he just destroyed us.
They were taking advantage of Wilbur Marshall having to play Mark Duper essentially because you just you switch up your D. That's what Ditka and Buddy were arguing about in the fucking locker room at the half. Yeah,
that's the game. That's the game that bothers me most out of all of Bears history. That's not even against the Packers.
But so many of the Bears players say that game refocused them, and the fact that they lost sort of made them feel like, what, we better work for this because this isn't just given to us. We have to earn it. And a lot of them attribute that loss to making them hungry again instead of complacent.
Sure, could be.
They were just mowing through everyone at that point. I can understand how you can build complacency, with 5 sacks a game, just murdering everyone as you go along.
Yeah, and I love Jim McMahon didn't even give a shit about the win. When he comes in the game, because, again, he had been hurt, he's like, well, Walter's got, 10 straight games of 100 yards. Let's make it 11. We're not going to win this game. Fuck it, guys. And, Ditka's calling pass plays, and he's like, let's hand it off to 34. Let's make sure he gets his fucking yards. And, it's like the players didn't even really care at that point. They're like, who cares, man? We'll be okay. It's one loss.
We've got to go ahead, Cliff.
I was going to say that's when the Miami players cracked the champagne.
Yeah, 70s. Let me ask you this, though, Cliff, if we're reminiscing. In hindsight, so the Bears beat the Rams in the early game. The late game that day, the AFC Championship, was New England at Miami. New England hadn't won at the Orange Bowl since 1971, and they pull off the upset. Do you think that Miami beats us in the Super Bowl if they beat New England at home, which they're supposed to have done, and got upset.
I don't really think so. I think that Monday night football game was just an off game for the team that year. They had some hard games. They had to come from behind. In the Minnesota game, McMahon had to throw the 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Sure.
So it wasn't as easy as some Bear fans may remember.
Opening day against Tampa, they're down 28-17 at home to fucking Tampa Bay and Steve DeBerg. And McMahon has a second half for the ages and comes back to win them that game.
I think by the time the Bears got to the playoffs, they were rolling. I don't think anybody was going to stop them at that point.
The other thing about that Miami loss was it's really hard to go down to Miami in that time of the year, coming from a cold weather area, and play in that heat and humidity. Excuse me. You know what it's like, Cliff. You live down in Florida. You're not quite near Miami, but shit, I mean, Miami is hot and fucking humid. I have friends that live in the Keys, and I go and visit them in January, and I'm like, God damn, does it ever cool off down here? So you go down there in the the middle of the season when you're used to your body is used to the cold weather, and you go down in that heat and humidity. That changes games. I mean, we saw that happen under the Nagy era when the team went down there, not to talk about the Nagy area, but they went down there and they lost that game in Miami because of the weather. It wasn't because of, in my opinion, anything else other than that.
Other than our kicker missing a kick again.
Right.
Even though he kicked in Miami the year before and you have perfect conditions and sunshine and it's like 44 yards and he missed it again.
Yeah.
I think that one was 50. I got to give Parkey credit for that, but he still won that game.
That's why I think when Miami comes up to Chicago on November 6th, the game that we're going to, Dan, is I think we're going to win that game just because of the weather factor.
Well, let me tell you this, Dan, this will give you something to worry about. We've not beaten Miami at home since week 1 of 1988. 1991, they had a lead. It was snowing, Marino in the cold. It was like 2 minutes to go and had like a 10-point lead and lost that game in overtime. 94, we went down there and won. 97, that was a great one. Now, it was in Miami again, though. If you remember, the Bears were like 0-7, and the Game 7 of the World Series between the Marlins and Indians is on Sunday night, so they have to move us to Monday. So on Monday night, you've got the Packers in New England and the Bears and the Dolphins, but like 95% of the country has the Packers game, including me. I had 4 ABCs at that time and got the Packers on all of them. So I had to buy the game online. But eventually, we're down 18 points in the fourth quarter, and Eric Kramer leads a comeback, and Jeff Jager makes a field goal to win it, and I cried. But anyway, next game, 2002, Ricky Williams has like 220 yards running on us on a Monday night. They finally come to Chicago again in 2006, and what happens? The 2006 Bears lose their first game in a revenge game to Joey Harrington, who we beat all the time when he was a Lion, but suddenly gets his revenge game on us in 2006, and then they come back to Chicago in 2014, and they beat us then. I don't remember who their quarterback was in 2014, but they've only come to Chicago 88, 91, 2006, and 2014 in the last 30-plus years. And they've won all the games in Chicago. But
thank you.
Miami.
Thank you for the fucking encouragement.
I have that Miami game as a loss. Sorry.
I hope not, man. Dan and Kitty and I and my cousin and Aldo and Dan's lovely girlfriend, we're all going to that game sitting third row, 20-yard line, might be 30-yard line. God damn it, they better win that game. They better.
I hope so. To move back to the Monday night game for just a second, Cliff's game in December of 85, that's still the highest rated Monday night game ever.
Wow.
With ratings. Truth.
I can believe it, yeah.
It was the Bears and Marino.
Yep. Well, listen, guys.
You are a Dolphins fan. That's something you got to ask you. Let me ask you this to anybody. Would you, I mean, we've been lifelong suffering Bears fans, but let's say you Marino. You're a Dolphins fan. Marino gets to the Super Bowl his second year, plays almost 20 years, doesn't get back. Or if you're Green Bay, you've had 30 years. Now, granted, Favre's a piece of shit. Is married, shows his penis to people, and rips off, allegedly stealing money from welfare in Mississippi right now, the poorest state in the union. He's a bad guy, but a great quarterback, right? So you had Favre and you got Rodgers, and you've got 2 championships out of 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks for 30 years plus. I mean, if we're a Packers fans, the truth is, I mean, we'd love to have those championships, but man, they really have shit the bed. Like, as good as quarterbacks they've had, they should have won like 5.
Can you imagine this?
Go ahead, Shorty.
No, you go ahead, buddy.
I was going to say, once they get to the playoffs, they fall apart, time after time after time. So they make the playoffs to keep their fans happy, but then they don't get the Super Bowls.
Could you imagine if, as a Chicago fan base, we had 2 back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks and only went to the Super Bowl 3 times and won 2? We'd be fucking sitting here talking shit left and right about that, right?
Well, they went 4 because Favre went to 2. No, you're right. Rodgers only gone to 1. You're right. That's 3. Fuck, you're right.
Aaron Rodgers has as many NFC championship trophies as Rex Grossman.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I liked Rex too. Everyone hates on Rex. But my point was, though, you could be a guy like a Miami fan that had a fucking great legendary player. And like, think about it. They go to the Super Bowl 84 and lose. They lose a title game in 85. They don't even make the playoffs again until 90. And this guy's in his prime. I mean, there's so many, like, we have it bad as Bear fans. I get it, like there's so many things, but there's some other organizations that have reasons to cry too, though, is what I'm saying.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And look what happens over time. Look at Buffalo, losing 4 Super Bowls. They made it to the Super Bowls, but it's got to hurt to never win one. And then there's bad for so many years, and now they finally have a team and a shot again. So that's the feeling I want. I want to be that team that has the shot. So right. Let's hope that's where I'm thinking 2023 is where we've got our shot again, and then let's see how it plays out.
I love that Kelly still lives there, and he's overcome all that cancer in his jaw and stuff. I mean, if they, for some reason, they would get back to the Super Bowl this year, like everyone thinks they're going to, or at least in the potential of, I hope they have Kelly on the field.
Me too.
Yeah, that guy played his heart out. Obviously a Hall of Famer, and he played well enough for them to win, especially that first Super Bowl.
Assuming that the Bears don't get to the Super Bowl this year, that's the team I want to win, just as much for the fan base as for Kelly himself too.
And that's why I don't hate Minnesota, the Vikings, because they lost those 4 Super Bowls, and I know they can relate to our pain. And that's why I don't hate Detroit, because again, Detroit's won 1 playoff game since 1956. I mean, I'm not exactly rooting for Minnesota or Detroit. In fact, when Minnesota was 15-1 and lost the championship game to the Falcons, I was rooting hard for Atlanta. So
we just don't have the malice in our hearts for those 2 teams because we can feel their suffering.
Yeah, we can relate to our suffering. Green Bay's like, if Green Bay was a person, not the town, I'm talking about the town, but their team, they would be the spoiled rich kid that's been driving a fucking sports car since they turned 15 and had a learner's permit. Daddy always hands them everything. They didn't have to take loans for college. Always had somebody to get them out of trouble. Driving drunk, no DUI. Some daddy gets them out of trouble. Just the spoiled fucking rich kid that constantly gets everything handed to them. Over and over and over. The referees, the calls, the quarterbacks, and they just have this certitude and arrogance as a result of it that just makes them, from me being the guy in the dirt, it makes me fucking resent them and hate them.
Especially when they come into your hometown and say, I fucking own you. I have all my whole life.
It's like they come into our home and take our women and fuck them. Make us watch it.
Burn our town down and shit. Yeah.
We're their fucking, what's the word in the porn? What is it when the guy has to watch his lady get fucked by somebody? The cuckold. They fucking cuckold us.
Rogers cuckold Chicago.
Yeah, me personally.
Okay, Rogers cuckold Stan.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Well, that's perfect. Personally, man, I don't know how anybody can't. I just don't. If you're a real fan, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not a bigger fan than anybody else. We're all equal fans here. I'm just saying I wish I could live on the same stratosphere with someone where this didn't really matter to me.
I know, man. Me too, buddy. Me too. Listen, we got a lot of questions here in chat. We should probably segue from that into because I was
let's check them out because I want to see the end of the
I'll
Minnesota
take my
game.
ball
if it
back
works
out
out.
right now.
All right. So we got Vaughn. So Vaughn's saying, did you guys see Justin mess up? Or did you guys see Justin miss EQ up the sidelines? That's very concerning to me. What did you guys think about that
That's
play?
the one Adam Johns tweeted about, but I missed it. I didn't see it live. I did not see the play. I'm not going to lie to you.
I don't remember it.
I did not either.
It was on a third down. I remember that because I saw the tweet. Actually, it was Sonny, who I think is listening to us now, who acknowledged the tweet to me. Sanjan Jovanovic is his name. Good guy. And he was like, did you see that tweet from Johns? And I looked it up when he sent it. And that's why I looked it up. And it was a third down play. And apparently St. Brown was wide open and could have scored. I did not notice it when we were watching the TV, though.
I did not either. And I haven't gone back and rewatched this game because it's just too fresh for me to watch that again right now. So I did not see that either.
Because I was going to do the Cliff Notes. I usually rewatch on Tuesday evenings if I have time before your show, Dan. And then I try to check that out, of course.
Oh, thank you. So did you see the play live?
No, I didn't see it.
Well, apparently Johns tweeted it immediately, but he's up top in the press box, but he saw it immediately.
Yeah, when you can see the field with, the entire field with your eyes like that, it's easier to see.
He said that St. John was like, or St. Brown was waving his hands in the air too. It was like, I'm wide open and like literally waving his fucking hand like Jimmy Orr in Super Bowl III when Earl Morrall throws an interception.
That's why you always want to see the all-22 because it shows you what's really happening.
Well, the all-22 used to be the all-22. You used to be able to see the entire field. You could pick. It was much different than the way they have it designed now. You can't really even see the entire field from the all-22. It fucking sucks. They for whatever reason,
they zoomed it in a bit.
Yeah, I think they're trying to take that away from the fans being able to make their own, videos and shit.
Make our own minds up. No, those fans can't do that. We'll tell them what to think.
Well, we're on to the questions section now from chat. So everyone in chat, pull up your questions or put your questions out there for us, and we'll have Kitty pull them up for us. So the second question we have is, do you guys think maybe the pressure put on the young team because of the rivalry played a part in the loss? And my answer is yes.
That's a good question. And maybe that's why Eberflus last week was trying to downplay the rivalry. I thought maybe it was slightly disingenuous at the time, that maybe he was privately like telling them how much this game means, but we'll never know that. Either way, maybe they were like starstruck. A lot of them in their first primetime game, such as, our draft pick number 6, they're struggling in the corner. So maybe that did play a role into it. I don't know. I mean, it's certainly a good question and a good thought.
I think that the media may have influenced the players, the younger ones especially, the way the media constantly harps on the Packers-Bears rivalry. So it's definitely possible. It could have happened.
And the fact that they put it on prime time right in the beginning of the season, I'm sure did not help any of the young players, for sure. So.
If you all go back, I used to know this because I bitched about it incessantly until the Bears had a Monday night game against Green Bay in week 3 of 2010. And Cutler beat them, and Hester had his first return in like 4 years at that time, like at least 3, for a touchdown. And then we had the opener in 19 was technically a primetime game on Thursday night. But other than that, every Bears game at Soldier Field with Green Bay is a noon kickoff, or at the very least 4:30 or 3:30 Central. But they have gone to Green Bay in the last like 20 years, and it's overwhelming. It's like fucking 15 of those games have been on Sunday or Monday or Thursday. Anytime we go to Lambeau, they're always in prime time.
They love to open that up on Thursday nights too.
It's always to give them the fucking advantage. I'm telling you, man. Like, even if you look at through their schedules, sometimes shit'll piss you off. You'll be like, they'll have like 4 straight home games, 3 in a row at home, and then a bye, and then another home game. So they're like at home like 5 or 6 straight weeks. When you consider a bye, that kind of shit always happens with them. It's like they try to pad their schedule to help them win.
No shit.
I mean, if there's one team that the league, and I'm not just saying this because, I'm a Bears fan, I'm defeated, I'm a defeatist. They love Aaron Rodgers. They being everybody on Fox, on NBC. I haven't watched Amazon yet. CBS, they love Aaron Rodgers, and that's who they want to win the Super Bowl. There's no fucking doubt about it. Every year, that's their golden boy.
Yep.
Amazon had a very nice video signal for their game. They've got the servers, they got the software, so that we may see some good TV programs coming out of them.
Oh, Amazon, huh?
Yes. Yeah, it was a very nice picture.
Interesting. What's the next question, Kitty? Kenny Ray says, what were your takeaways from Getsy's play calling / offensive performance? I feel routes took too long to develop, and we abandoned the run too quick. Hello, Matt Nagy. I kind of thought the same way in the beginning, like what's going on with this play calling? Where's the, where's the passing game? And it feels like they kind of did abandon the run a little bit too quick at some point there, and then kind of came back to it, and then they get that touchdown at the end that they should have had coming from a fucking, a shotgun. I don't know. It was just the play calling to me was a little bit suspicious. I kind of thought that about the last game too, because there was a point where they ran a play and then there was like a holding, and then they ran the exact same play again and got nothing out of it. And we gave them the same look twice in a row. So I was kind of curious about that. They ended up punting the ball. And then you come into this game, and I kind of am wondering the same thing, Kenny. Like some of the play calling did seem a little bit questionable to me. Like, what do you guys think?
I was actually expecting Getsy to look like a genius. He comes out with the flea flicker, which actually worked very well. So I'm like, okay, great. We're going to see a bunch of good things from him. And then it was mainly, run. And like Kenny's saying, some of the plays are taking too long to develop. You got to have Justin 1, 2, 3 steps, throw the ball. Not 1, 2, 3, wait a while, and then have to run.
It's almost like he was waiting for his improvisation skills to take over, right? Dan?
What do you think, Dan?
I think I don't want us to lose, but I'm glad that Getsy gets to feel how we feel now, being in Green Bay all those years and always feeling superior. It's like, yeah, welcome to the fucking sorrow here, pal. Now, help us devise a game plan to win the next time they play. But, in all honesty, it's only his second week calling plays. Maybe he's getting his footing too. I don't want to give him a pass. I certainly agree with Kenny's perception of things. I think he hit it on the nail on the head, so to speak. So yeah, I agree with him. But maybe we should give. It's week 3 coming up. Maybe he's going to improve as the year goes on.
Maybe Getsy was nervous too, right? Facing his old team, he's like, they're going to know what this formation looks like. They're going to know this formation looks like. Let me try to become a little bit more vanilla in a way, and then we try to do the flea flicker to throw him off. The flea flicker to me at the time almost seemed like Matt Nagy-ish in a way where you're trying to keep the team on their toes rather than just pounding them in the face. And I don't know, I wasn't expecting to see more of those kind of gimmicky plays. I was expecting to see more of the meat and bones of it. And maybe it's just because Getsy himself was afraid maybe they knew what was coming.
I love the flea flicker. I used it on Tecmo Super Bowl all the time. So I've loved it since I was a child. So whenever I kind of have a special place in my heart for a successful flea flicker. I was like, yes, the flea flicker.
As I mentioned before, when I was saying that Justin was not happy in his press conference, he was repeatedly saying that he only runs the plays. He doesn't call the plays. So if he's not happy about it, I mean, what's that say about Getsy's play calling when your quarterback's not happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Room for improvement.
For sure.
I like the honesty from Justin, though. Like, as much as I wanted Mitch to be successful, he would have said something robotic and, like, again, just not genuine at the presser.
Right.
He whatever Trubisky said, he would have started off with this sentence. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, no matter what question they ever asked Trubisky, he always went, "Oh yeah, for sure." It was like his tick that he went to because he didn't know, like, he had to think about the question. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, definitely. So what's the next question?
We're getting better. We're going to work as a team.
Yeah. So Joe Treviso says, "Do you guys think Getsy will let Fields throw more next week?"
Yes.
My answer is I fucking hope so.
I definitely think he's going to. I think that the Bears are going to get so much shit over only having 11 passes that they're going to design some more throws in there. And they are playing against the Texans. Lovey's probably going to have a fairly decent run defense going. So, let's open Justin up a little. It's third game. Let's open him up. Let's see what he can do.
I don't know if you all watched, like I said, I watched the Denver-Houston game a little bit yesterday. I wasn't like watching it like a Bears game, but I had it on. And Russell, they won, but Russell Wilson, we all agree, is a good quarterback, right? And Lovey shut him down. I don't know I can't recall his stat line, but Russell's really struggled yesterday. I mean, he played, to be quite honest, he looked shitty. And so the borderline Hall of Fame quarterback in Russell Wilson, and Lovey shut him the fuck down. So I don't want to pound my chest too much over this and say it's a guaranteed win. I bet you the line, I'm not even a gambler, I'm not too cheer, but the line's, I would guess it's probably just -3 for the Bears only because they're at home.
Makes sense.
Maybe
I don't see the Bears getting many positive lines in any of these games coming soon. It just seems like they're just a national media.
Yeah, and look at
bag.
They're playing the Giants, and you think, oh well, the Giants aren't that good, but they're 2-0.
Right, I know. Surprisingly to myself.
Exactly. I thought, oh, this fucking quarterback they've got's a joke.
And he is. He hasn't had that great of a game. His stats aren't, that great, but they won. That's all that matters.
Yep, exactly.
His stats are better than Justin Fields. That's for sure. So what's the next question, Kitty? AGM Productions asks, do you think Velus Jones is the missing piece to this offense? We kind of talked about that earlier, AGM. Not seeing Velus Jones on the field has been disheartening because there's so many more aspects you could have added to this team. And the speed aspect is, I think, the one thing that we're missing, that kind of Swiss Army knife that's able to blow up the game on certain plays that are designed for him. And I think him missing is definitely a problem with this offense. Myself personally.
I hope so. That's what my answer is. I just hope so. I hope when he comes in, it's just like, oh, where's this guy been? Like, look at that speed. Touchdown, Velus Jones. I hope he just doesn't come back and looks like another guy.
From the amount of time that Justin was holding the ball, it was obvious that he was not seeing open receivers. So Velus will hopefully give him one more guy that's going to, fool some defenders with his speed. And I'll tell you what the Bears really need is still a wide receiver one. And Mooney is definitely not shown in the first two games that he can take over that role. So the Bears need one.
As much as I was pounding the table for Mooney to be the number one, I thought he was the number one. It's kind of starting to show in those last two games, considering the amount of targets he's even gotten. Not even mention the catches he's gotten or lack of.
He's suddenly being covered by a lot tougher defensive backs.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Kitty, next question. Raging Oracle says, where is wide receiver one? Because he's not on this team. There you go. I think we kind of answered that question.
Hey, Raging Oracle, he's sitting there in college right now, waiting for us to come get him.
Mm-hmm. I like that more than sitting there in free agency because I'd rather draft him.
Well, if you draft him, you get him much cheaper for 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Kitty's got the questions rolling right along. Simon asks, also, did anyone else spend the game yelling facial LaFleur at their TV when we made a play? If you know what you know. Facial LaFleur. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Admit, I'm not familiar with that.
I was going to say, honestly, I don't know. I feel it's like, should I know this? I don't know. I know LaFleur looks like a fucking dwarf, though.
He does.
Maybe it's just height arrogance on my part. I am 6'5", but I look at LaFleur and I'm like, this dude's like fucking 5'1" or some shit. He looks like like one of the fucking little people on the Wizard of Oz, the Munchkin.
Oh, he's referencing the movie Dodgeball.
I should know that then. I've seen the movie many times. Just didn't connect it.
It just got me thinking, like, I would like to see him just getting a facial on the sideline. That'd be nice. Yeah.
I'd like to see him get his ass beaten, man. I hate that guy.
Just get like a line of guys around him, just like dumping loads all over his head. That would have been great. I'd like to see that any game.
I guarantee this guy's not a good coach when he doesn't have Rodgers.
Fuck no. That's the most annoying part about this. He's getting all this recognition of being this great head coach and this winning record that he has, yet he can't fucking get to the Super Bowl with goddamn Aaron Rodgers. If you can't get to the fucking Super Bowl with that quarterback, how good of a head coach are you? Yeah, you can go ahead and win all these regular season games with Aaron Rodgers and you get to the playoffs with him. But last year they lose in the fucking first round of the goddamn Niners at home in the snow.
That's another point you're making. Usually the NFC North is sort of down. So they take care of business with the Bears in Detroit. They usually get 4 wins right there, and maybe they split with Minnesota, but that's 5 or 6 wins every year that they usually get straight out the gate from their division. You know what I mean? So it's like they have a weak schedule, kind of like the Patriots every year when they were on their run. They had Buffalo was terrible, Miami was terrible, and the Jets were terrible every year. 6 straight fucking wins, just like that. Maybe they get upset in Miami, at Miami. 5-6 victories just handed to you, though, just on paper.
Yep.
Well, that's what Mike Ditka used to do. It's how the Bears won during the 80s.
Well, but I will say the 85 team beat everybody, though. They beat San Francisco. They beat Washington. Who else was big in the 80s? The 49ers,
Cowboys.
Redskins. Yeah, they beat the Cowboys. They beat them all.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question, Kitty. Mo Bierman, do you think the Bears are scouting game day experiences at other stadiums? I've been to about a dozen over the years. I was lucky enough to go to the Chiefs versus Chargers at Arrowhead last Thursday. Oh, interesting. Do you think they're scouting game day experiences at other stadiums? Mo, I think that what you're asking is about the new stadium, like what they're going to.
Yeah, I think he's asking, like, are they taking notes on, let's take this experience and incorporate it into Arlington Heights? I think that's what he's asking.
I would imagine that they are. They should be. Cliff?
That's the point. That's what I was going to say. If they're not doing it, why not? They've got plenty of behind-the-scenes executives that they can send out to look at them.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's something Phillips could be doing.
Oh, he's retiring, though, which I find to be strange.
He could be a consultant, and he can go from stadium to stadium. He'd probably have fun.
I just don't want it to be like one of these things where the Bears are like, we're really going to be competitive with this new stadium. And just like okay with like 4 or 5 years of whatever happens in the interim before they get the new stadium. Like, dude, we want to win now. Like.
To be honest, I think that they went and got this new property, the Arlington property, to build a stadium on it because I think that they want to sell the team. And I think that the only reason they can, one of the biggest ways they'll be able to sell the team is if they have their own stadium. It'd be awfully hard to sell a team to some billionaire and go, hey, you have to fucking rent the stadium from the Chicago Park District. That just doesn't sit well with me as a buyer of the team. So to me, I think once they get all this figured out when it comes down to the new stadium, I think that's when the team is going to look to be selling, because I've read a lot of things over the years about, and most recently, about when Virginia, I mean, she can't live forever, so I don't want to talk about this negatively, but when she finally does pass on, that inheritance is going to be split up amongst a lot of family members, and a lot of them are going to want that money because you can't take out a loan on a team that you have an investment in. So they can sit back and go, oh, look, I have $100 million inheritance coming to me from my grandmother. Can I take a loan out on this to buy said property? You can't do that. They need to have that liquidated for them to be able to do that. So I think there's going to be a lot of family bullshit that's going to come into play once she passes on and the inheritance gets passed along, and then the problem is going to start there. So I think that they're trying to get their ducks in a row to get the stadium ready so that they have this mass package to sell to someone to advance the amount of money that they're going to have in their inheritance. Just my opinion.
I respectfully disagree with you on that, only because I think that George McCaskey is a super fan like we are. And I think he'll die with the Bears, man. I honestly, if George has anything to do with it, I think he'll maintain the Bears. That's my opinion.
I think it's going to be a pretty intense family discussion argument over it. You're going to have people like McCaskey on one side, and then on the other, you'll have some cousin or grandson or something that makes $200,000 a year working for the Bears now. And he's got the chance to pick a number, make $80 million all at once if they sell the team. So I think you'll have people on both sides in the family, and it's not going to be a pleasant experience for them.
And that also depends on how much of the inheritance goes to George too, Dan. I mean, we don't know what those numbers are. There also are other investors in the team that have a very
10% for two of them, I believe.
A significant amount, yeah, for the two of them that still give them a voice. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out when that happens. That's for sure. It can't be too far along.
George, if you listen to him talk, they're so proud of the legacy of coming from their grandfather and George and Halas. Obviously, I mean, I just don't see it, man. Like maybe it'll be proven that you were right on that. I think George McCaskey will die the Bears owner or advocate of some figurehead of some sort. He'll be the perceived leader of the team, I think.
It would take her leaving him the majority percentage, right? I would imagine.
I would say, but I don't think if he has any say in it, I think he's going to keep the team. Even his brother seems pretty passionate about the Bears too. So I just don't think that they're going to want to get rid of the team. I think it's been their lives, whether we want to shit on them or not. So many Bear fans do, but they care. Even if we've had all these bad memories, they care, man. Virginia goes to every game. I mean,
they care more than you and I do. That's for sure.
For her, but still being like 98 years old and going to all the road games, even during COVID, she was going. Mm-hmm. It's not like she has to go. She could watch it on TV, but she's
99, dude. She's going to be 100 on January 5th.
And she fucking loves the Bears. I mean, they all do. I never understood why everybody hates the McCaskies. I know the Bears haven't won, but it's not like they're one of these owners of a team where they're only there for profit. Not to switch sports, but growing up a Cincinnati Reds fan, that's all they care about is turning a profit every year. They don't give a shit about winning. When they got Ken Griffey Jr., they're like, oh, well, you got Griffey. You can come see Griffey. We don't care if you're fucking winning, but you'll come see Griffey.
I'll tell you the exact reason why, Dan. Because the owner of the team right now is not a Halas. It's a McCaskey. So people view that as the young lady inherited the team from her father, who was supposed to be Muggs Halas, was supposed to be in the inheritor of the team before he had a heart attack. Yeah. And then now she inherits the team. And
there was a big legal dispute over that, who was going to be the next owner at the time.
Right. And now she inherits the team, and she's married into this McCaskey family that went to like Harvard and Yale and all this shit. And then they have these kids that go to Harvard and Yale, and they're not like football people. So I think that's where the ire comes from. The fan base is this McCaskey ownership genre or era, if you will, that is not a Halas. And so they're looking at it more as like not meat and bones or, meathead ownership like we would have had per se with a Muggs Halas owning the team currently. And it's shifted into this McCaskey era. And the ownership is now more just, Ivy League school children that own the team. And people think that they don't take it seriously. And you and I can both agree that we don't think that's the case because we know how much this family loves the team.
Yeah, and for all the years that in the late 80s and into the 90s where they didn't want to spend money under Michael McCaskey's leadership, that has not been the fucking case in the 2000s. The Bears have spent money. They took risk on Khalil Mack, signed Julius Peppers to a massive contract, gave up 2 first-round picks for Mack, gave up 2 first-round picks to get draft Fields. They made a huge trade for Jay Cutler. Like they've been swinging for the fences here. And as a Bears fan, that's what I want. I want them to be willing, not necessarily to give up your draft picks every year. Cause like Cliff said earlier, thank God we've got a first round pick next year. I don't want that to be traded. I'm just saying, at least they've been aggressive. They care. The juxtaposition being against a team that only cares about profits. And I don't believe that the Bears fall under that category.
The problem that you were mentioning, Shorty, is so true. The McCaskeys are self-declared fans of the game rather than football people. So I think that a lot of people feel that they have not selected the best talent over the years to run the team. And a lot of that goes back to McCaskey's and Phillips being in control and just not being able to, this year they used Bill Pullen. What's his name? Pullen? Pullian. Thank you. They used him, in my opinion, to pick their GM and then also along with the head coach and everything going on there. So they finally got a football guy involved in it, and hopefully it's going to work out. But I think that the fans' ire is just because of the fact that they don't really know any more football than most of us do.
Right. They're self-proclaimed fans. Yes. And we know that we wouldn't be hearing that from Muggs Halas. If he... Granted, Muggs probably would have passed on by now because he'd be 98 years old.
But then again, Virginia's lived this long. Yeah, but Muggs died in 79, so...
Yeah, it's really hard for a male to live to be 98 years old. I mean, it just is.
He knows live longer. It's true.
And the reason why his kids didn't inherit the team is because he didn't have any. So that's why Virginia ended up with the team. So who knows what the hell would have happened, even if Muggs would have lived. I mean, shit, Virginia could have still been owning the team at some point.
In Virginia's interview for the 100 years, they were talking about Halas, and she was saying, well, I wanted what he wanted. He loved the team, so I loved the team.
Right.
So she was a very dutiful daughter, and she loved her dad, and she wanted to carry on his tradition. So
that's why I made a video, kind of a tribute to her about that. And she's done an admirable job as one of the first female owners of a professional sports team back in the 80s. And could she have done better? Yeah. But she has put all of her love and heart and soul into the team. That you cannot question. What's the next question, Kitty? We have 3 left, and then we'll wrap this up. Leo Factor says, we haven't seen a top 3 step drop and release by Fields. Did I read that correct? We haven't seen.
Yeah, it's more of a statement.
We haven't seen a 3-step drop and release by Fields. Let's work some of that into the offense. Go ahead, Dan.
No, that's what she was saying in the private chat. She said that it was a more of a statement than a question.
Oh, okay.
And it's true. He's right. Let's see it.
We haven't. They've been trying to get that 3 or that 5-7 step drop to open up the field to create a downfield pass, and it hasn't seemed to work. So we definitely should hope to see that in the next game.
I'm telling you, there was one play where Mustipher snapped the ball. I said this on the other show, and was thrown to the ground, and Fields was sacked immediately, straight from up front. Like I said, from the center position there. He that may have been a 3-step drop, but he didn't have a chance to fucking make it.
Right.
I mean, Mustipher was abused on that, thrown to the ground as soon as he snapped the ball. and then Fields gets sacked. I mean, so I don't know. And Mustafa is, I know Olin Kreutz loves him, and I don't want Olin to kick my ass. And he knows more about football than I'll ever know, but I think Mustafa is the weak link right now.
I can't wait until Lucas is back at center. I think
How
we're
long
going to see a difference.
His fucking hand to heal, man.
Well, it's a broken thumb that required surgery, so
He got hurt in late July. I mean, I don't know how long that takes, is what I'm saying. He got hurt in late July, and we're working on September 25th is the next game. So it's roughly 2 months ago. I don't know. I'm not being facetious. I don't know how long it would take for him to come back from this before he can snap. I just don't know.
Probably depends on how severe the surgery was.
True.
Yeah, hopefully he makes it back in the next game, because we sure need to see what he has to offer at center. Next question is Jay Smoove asks, do you think Chicago beats Houston next Sunday? Houston has to play back-to-back road games, and I don't see them being able to match up with the talent we do have. What are your predictions for week 3? I'll go myself first. I'll say we are going to beat the fucking Texans. They better come out after this loss to the Packers and put everything on the field and fuck up that Lovie Smith team just to set a precedent.
I think we're going to see one of two things happen. Either the Bears are going to react to how badly this past game went, and they're going to change some things. We're going to see a lot more passing, and we're going to see a more wide open game, or they're going to continue to run the football. If they continue to run the football, it could be a lower scoring game, sort of like what the Houston Denver game was. And if they do open it up, then this is all brand new to us this year. So let's see what happens. Do I think the Bears are going to win? Yes, but I always think the Bears are going to win.
I will say that this is an ugly game, that the Bears will put pressure on themselves based upon that loss. Everyone will be tight and tentative as a result, and it'll just be ugly. It'll be close, and the Bears will win, but it won't be gratifying to anybody. And they'll be like, man, they struggled to beat the Texans. This team sucks. So I would say the Bears win some shit like 19-16, 16-13. I think it's going to be low scoring, and it won't do anything for the Bears nationally. And I don't give a fuck. As long as you get the second win and Fields doesn't get hurt, we're okay. Me
too. And all these games that we play against the Texans, they always seem to be some weird game, don't they?
We've only beaten the Texans once, ever. If you recall, it was Mitch who beat them a couple of years ago. But before that, like, they came into Chicago and beat us in 2004. It was cold. It was some weird score, like 22-5. We had a safety. We had the game in 2008 when Kyle was the last game. Orton was a quarterback. If you win, you make the playoffs. He goes to Houston, has a lead, but loses, leading to the Cutler trade. They came into 2012 on Sunday Night Football, hurt Cutler. He got a concussion, beat us up on Sunday Night Football. They beat us in the opening game of 2016 with Brock Osweiler. And then finally, Trubisky beat them the last time. So we've only beaten them once ever.
Yeah, those are always like iffy games, man. They're always they're always heartbreakers too. Like you were just saying, bringing us down memory lane with that. I'm going to predict a win, but I think it'll be ugly too.
Now, like I said, it can go one of two different ways, either a lot of runs or a more wide open game. And I have no idea which way it's going to be. So we'll just have to wait and see.
And Lovey's due to beat us. I hate to say it. I mean, he's 0-2 when he was in Tampa against us. And that scares me, man. Like, everyone has their revenge on the Bears games. We never get the other side of it. But, man, Lovey's going to be fired up with his horrible big-ass beard.
that Houston quarterback isn't that bad either. He's not terrible.
I was not impressed. His statistics are better than Fields's right now, but I didn't see anything out of him yesterday to make me think, oh, this guy's going to be great.
Yeah, Davis Mills you're talking about.
Yeah, I was just watching the statistics on it, maybe a little bit on Red Zone. So I didn't really see the whole game. so it's hard to say. But from the games I've watched him play, he's been adequate. Not superstar.
Right. In my opinion, if the Texans are really bad this year and have a high draft pick next year, they're going to go quarterback. That's what I think about this guy. Yeah, maybe he's a stopgap, but he's not the franchise. I hope Fields is for us. I don't know. I hope so. But I don't think this guy in Houston is. I say that, then he'll throw for fucking 4 touchdowns Sunday.
Oh, God. Knocking on the fucking wood, Dan.
What the
All
fuck
right,
is in the Cliff's picture?
Yeah, what happened to you, Cliff?
I don't know what happened to it.
You turned into a fucking kitty?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, if you can hear me, I mean, we're at the end of the show pretty much, so I'll figure it out next time.
Simon says, I'm really scared that Mooney will hurt his knee with his constant hop and cut moves over the season. I like to see him pant and cut faster with more shoulder. I'd like to see him pant. Pant?
I think he wants to see him plant.
Oh, I'd like to see him plant and cut faster with more shoulder. Thoughts?
Yeah, he's a little guy. It's a fair thought and observation. Like I said, that's one of the things when Nagy was here, he always had him running those like 5 or 6 yard crossing routes in traffic. So if he caught the ball, he was taking a lot of shots, considering he's so, he's like 5'6", 5'7", 100, and he's not very big at all. He's little. I mean, he's bigger than Tariq Cohen was, but he's not exactly like wide receiver. You don't want him taking big shots. I agree with Simon. Simon says.
No. Simon says. That could be a segment.
Yeah.
Simon says. No, I mean, it's true. He's not the biggest guy out there. And he does run his routes really well. And for his size, he's a good blocker. But I don't want to hear it. We're not talking about anybody hurting their knees. So we're just going to knock on wood when you say that, Simon. But no, he could definitely do a little bit more to get himself involved in the game. That's for sure.
Agreed.
Well, I think that's about it. We have one more question, but that's kind of a silly one. How long does Cliff have to sit in timeout for saying he roots for Brady and the Bucks on a Bears podcast? We're gonna do it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 fucking seconds. How about that? There you go. You're back, Cliff. Well, this has been a great show, guys.
Disheveled Brady's been looking recently. I mean, it's like he looks like he's losing weight, and like, look, man, I think you and I both have spoken on this. Going through a divorce is no joke, and that's allegedly what he's going through right now. He looks terrible. I don't mean on the field, he looks like he's lost like 20 pounds, like, and not in a good way.
He looks like someone in the 80s that had AIDS.
God, I hate to admit it, but yeah, he looks like one of the guys that was about to die in like 1984.
Speaking of that, that's one of the notes I had from last night's game. I wrote down that Rodgers looks haggard. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. He looks all like wrinkly and gray, and he looks like my fucking grandpa now. And he's younger than I am. It's time to retire, Aaron Rodgers. Fuck off.
I don't want to retire. I just want to beat him, man.
I know, but at some point, if you can't, just fuck off. Just go up. Just go away, Aaron, please.
He's like a fucking herpes virus.
Yeah, on your eyeball that won't go away.
That would be horrible.
It's like you have pink eye once a month.
It's bad enough to have it on your fucking dick, but have it in your eyes too. I mean, Jesus,
it'd be awful. Show up to work that day with fucking herpes in your eyeballs, like. Sorry, it's just Aaron Rodgers is back again. I'm sorry, I just gotta. Yeah. Well, this has been a fucking great show, guys. Thank you guys for joining us for Last Call at Hallas Hall. Cliff, did you meet yourself on purpose?
You guys can hear me now. What would be worse than Aaron Rodgers would be the Packers coming up with a third franchise quarterback in a row.
Oh, God.
Okay, now that I've ruined the show,
I'm
done
say
here.
that. All right, guys. Thank you guys very much for joining me. Thanks, everyone in chat, for all your questions. Thanks for joining us on this last call at Halas Hall post-game from the Barroom Network, I should say. It's been a blast talking with you guys, everyone in chat. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Bears Country Podcast. Set your notifications. A lot more to come. Also, make sure that you like and subscribe to the Barroom Network, because we're also there on Monday nights at 8 p.m. prior to this show. So with that being said, we're going to get a win next week. We'll talk all about that next Monday, and we'll do the Bears on a 1, 2, 3. Ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. Bears!
Bears!